Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to this week's live episode of the Hot Mic. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by, the guy who I went toe-to-toe with in the Schmodown all the time, always controversial, but always telling his truth there. Jeff Sneider, how are you?
Wonderful, Johnny boy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. The weekend's right around the corner. It's been a busy week, a crazy week, but I'm excited to be getting in to relax a little bit over the weekend. But we got a lot of stories to get to. The chat's already hopping. Welcome, everybody who's joining us live. We appreciate it madly. Streamlabs, SuperChats are open. Get them in now. You know how it goes. You start to ask questions, and it gets left behind. We don't want to have that happen, so send in your Streamlabs and your SuperChats. Now, the way the show works is Jeff and I kind of agree with a loose rundown, and then we toss out subjects to each other. We don't know who's going to toss out what, so you're getting our reactions on the fly, and it's a lot of fun. So, Jeff, where would you want to start first, my man?
You pick, Johnny.
All right, let's start off with this conversation with Amandla Stenberg. This happened earlier today. Amandla Stenberg, who's, of course, is going to be out with the new film Bodies, Bodies, Bodies from A24. This film is directed by Helena Reijen. I hope I'm saying that right there, Jeff. And correct me if I'm wrong. Pete Davidson.
That's right. But okay.
Is that right? Okay. Pete Davidson, Lee Pace, Maria Bakalova, Rachel Sennett, Chase Sui Wonders, and Mihaela Harold is a part of this.
Who am I hosting? Who's hosting the show? JTE? I feel like you're butchering these names.
I'm just reading them on the fly, man. Give me a break. Anyway, Lena Wilson, who is the critic for the New York Times, she published a DM between Amandla Stenberg and her, where Amandla Stenberg apparently responding to Wilson's tweet saying, quote, "Your review was great. Maybe if you had gotten your eyes off my tits, you could have watched the movie." And this was in response to a line in Wilson's review where she said the only thing that really sets Bodies apart is its place in the A24 hype machine, where it doubles as a 95-minute advertisement for cleavage and Charlie XCX's latest single. Amandla Stenberg did a little bit of damage control, but kept her position clear that she was not taking anything back. She claims that it was a joke amongst two women who are, because she was being accused of being homophobic for that situation. And so both of these women are apparently gay, and they were having the back and forth. And so apparently Amandla Stenberg is very clear that she was just joking about it, that Wilson took it wrong, said she respects her opinions just like Wilson should respect hers, and that it's no big deal. So, Jeff, you talk to me about this back and forth. Is this the new Hollywood now, where critics are subject to this kind of back and forth? Was Wilson wrong to post this DM between her and Stenberg? And was Stenberg wrong to even send a message like that? Because that doesn't sound like let me take issue with your review. That sounds like, let me take issue with your review. What did you think about all this?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Amandla Stenberg is young, but she should know better, I think, even at this point in her career. That's not a message that you send a critic, whether it's a white or black critic or gay or straight critic. It doesn't really matter. I thought that Lena handled it, as well as possible. I don't know if I would have made it a whole public thing. I feel like I've learned that lesson, the hard way about taking things public. But, clearly I think Amandla crossed the line, and I'm sure that I wouldn't be surprised if she apologized to Lena. And forgive me if I'm, mixing up anybody's pronouns or anything.
Yeah.
I do think that, it has to be a two-way street, right? Yeah. It's like, if you're going to put it out there, if you're going to dish it, you got to be able to take it.
Yeah.
But there is a way to voice those frustrations to a critic. And I don't think that, sliding in their DMs with a message like that is the way.
Yeah, and to give a little more context here, Amandla Stenberg came out in her Instagram stories to answer some of the criticism, some of the firestorm that was going on today surrounding what she had DM'd her. And by the way, when you're sending someone a DM, you hope that it's private, but you never know. And certainly Wilson publishing it like that was, in a way, trying to maybe take control of the narrative, trying to maybe make it clear that where she was coming from and that she felt she was being attacked or harassed possibly by Amandla Stenberg's DM. And Amandla Stenberg went in the Instagram stories and talked about the fact that her chest has been a focus of a lot of people for a long time, even as a young actress. Now, as a man, I can't really relate to that, right? But I can understand it. I can understand that a young woman who is coming into her own, developing at a certain rate. Certainly women talk about how once they get breasts, men all of a sudden show interest, and old men start to hit on them, or older men start to hit on them, no matter how young they are, which is a really terrible aspect of our society. So we don't know how much of this is carried over from her reaction is carried over from the experiences that she's had in the past. It was maybe triggered by having a female critic point this out and make a point of it in their review. She didn't say specifically Amandla Stenberg's breasts, so I'm going to put that out there, or Stenberg's breasts. She said overall cleavage. So I haven't seen the movie. I don't know if that's a focus of it, but certainly you can understand where Amandla might have been coming from in sending that message. But you wonder why Wilson would post this. What's your guess, Jeff? You're a critic. I'm sure you've gotten your share of DMs from angry people you've written about. What do you imagine Wilson's point was in publishing that DM?
I mean, as with most things in publishing them on the internet, it's for clout chasing, really. Like, did she really feel like threatened? You know, like, I don't know if it's really like you can't talk to a queer critic like that, or, you know, like, it just didn't. I don't know why that's the first place that everybody goes to. You know, it's like, oh, something happened to somebody. What is the race or sexuality of the person who did the thing, and what is the race and sexuality of the person who, you know, is making the allegation or whatever? It's just like, I hate that becomes the first descriptor, and it becomes, you know, it's about a black person doing something to a white person, or a gay person doing something to a straight, or whatever it is, rather than just, this is about an actress and a critic.
Yeah.
That's how I define the two of them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. And it doesn't mean that, you know, I hear what you're saying, Jeff, but I also think that sometimes that is a factor in this. Not always, but certainly if it was a perfect utopian world, you could be like, this is just a critic.
Yes,
but they're both equal, though, in that they're women and they're gay. And so this is what Amandla came back and said. I thought that as gay people, we would both find this comment funny. I was also curious to know why Lena would say such a statement, but Lena decided to publish it and say that I am homophobic for saying that. Because Wilson did post on her Twitter, which I think is private now. She said, always weird when the homophobia is coming from inside the house. You know, and this is go ahead. Yep.
I can see actually how Amandla Stenberg might have thought that was a joke.
Yeah, of course. Totally. She's a young woman. She's like shooting back, you know, busting balls. And maybe Wilson took it.
It's just about the tone, and the tone doesn't come through online. Believe me, I know that better than anybody. I didn't see what my first thought was today. Do you dare ask?
No, I don't. I don't think I should ask. Yeah.
It was just like, geez, in a movie with Rachel Sennett, I don't know if anyone was looking at Amandla Stenberg's.
Whoa, too far. Does this signal a new path? We're seeing more and more derision for critics, derision for critics organizations, derision for award shows. Do you see that this newer generation of actors is finding it to be a necessary evil that they don't want to deal with anymore? Do you sense that there's a breaking down of these?
You know, when we talk about the Jonah Hill thing, but I think you're right that this younger generation, they don't need to get their validation from critics.
Yeah.
Because maybe they have that validation directly from the fans, you know, they can be in touch with their fans directly every day via social media. So they don't need critics, you know, who may not be the target audience to tell them, oh, that, you know, they're the greatest. I did not care for Bodies. Did you see it?
I have not seen it because it looked terrible. And then I saw some bad reviews and I was like, good, I'm validated. I don't need to see it. I
mean, I was looking forward to it. I'd always heard good things about the script, and I like the cast that they put together, but I don't think it was very good at all. And I don't know, if you're in a bad movie, it's or even a movie that people think are bad, even though some people thought it was great as well, especially that early flood of reviews, which may have gone to everybody's head. I don't know. You got to take it on the chin there. You can't. You can't retaliate.
what are all these magazines going to do with their Lee Pace puff pieces now? I thought this was the summer of Pace, but if no one's going to see Bodies, is it really the summer of Pace? I'm just throwing
the
it out.
cast and the performances is not the problem with that movie, I don't think.
Yeah, and I don't trust horror critics when they come out first off about a horror movie. I just don't. I wait until more critics get involved to watch it. Then I
literally the worst.
Yeah, because horror critics are absolutely about protecting their brand.
Just like horror movies.
And pushing up horror movies and pushing it becomes a personal crusade with them. So I rarely believe their reviews of a horror film. I wait till everyone else goes to see it, or myself included, and see what they think. Because horror critics, just like a lot of critics in this business, sadly, care about their connection to the horror directors, horror screenwriters, horror studios, horror producers. It's so important to them to keep their brand in a certain place. And I'm just not one of those people that adheres to that. So,
Or is a term I use very loosely when it comes to bodies, which I don't think has like a single scare in the entire movie. But anyway.
Well, it's presented in a certain way with the trailer for sure.
Yeah, so. as a horror comedy. Anyways, Amandla Stenberg, I think that she realized she messed up. But like this is why talent doesn't like to, interact with press in the way that they used to back in the day. Back in the day, John, a sports writer could go get a steak dinner with Bill Russell after the Celtics.
I just love that Jeff's trying to tell me about back in the day as if I wasn't fucking around. But go ahead.
Things have changed. This is a prime example of I guess I shouldn't even try to have a relationship with critics or whatever because they just, put it out on social media. Believe me, you're right. I have had actors message me, but I don't put it out on social media because I'm a reporter and then no one would come to me.
Right. Yeah, that's why I thought it was weird. But Wilson must feel that she's in a strong position as a New York Times critic to be able to put this out there and risk the backlash. But then again, she privated her account, so maybe she didn't appreciate the backlash or didn't anticipate the backlash turning on her.
It's Amandla's fans, no doubt, coming after her for making maybe a mountain out of a molehill.
Probably. Well, Amandla has 2.5 million followers on Instagram alone, so you mess with.
I thought it was pretty millions. It wasn't like that huge a deal.
Fair enough. So we've got over 100 of you watching right now. Thank you so much for joining us right off the bat. Please make sure you hit a like on this video. Send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats. I already pinned the Streamlabs address in the chat. We've got 2 of them already. Jeff, let's get to them real quick before we jump into our next topic. Jeff Earl said, Jeff, you made it clear you think studios acting ethically is silly and unnecessary, but are you at least happy that Zaslav found a viable path forward that addresses audience concerns by possibly encouraging Ezra Miller to seek treatment? Let's put a pin in that one. We'll swing back to it, Earl, because we're going to get into the Ezra Miller thing possibly next now as a thing. Nancy Mallory said, are you planning to attend TIFF next month in person? And what films or TV shows that's premiering at the festival are you excited to see? Jeff, are you going? I was turned down. So are you going to TIFF?
Were you really?
Yeah. So where are you going to TIFF?
I am going to TIFF.
Okay. Congratulations.
I have my flight and my Airbnb, and but I booked it near the Ryerson, which is where all the midnights have traditionally been. And this year, after I booked it, they're like, by the way, the midnights aren't at the Ryerson. So it's now I'm out in the middle of Toronto. There's nothing around that area. But if you're in Toronto, hit me up. I am looking forward to the Spielberg movie, obviously, The Fabelmans. I'm looking forward to that new Peter Farrelly movie, the greatest beer run ever, which hopefully we'll talk about the trailer towards the end of the show. There's a couple midnights that I'm looking forward to. Yeah, it should be a fun festival. I haven't been there in a couple of years, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. Suck says the ending gag of bodies is pure gold. Would you say that, Jeff? Pure gold? No spoilers, but would you say it's good pure gold?
No.
Okay.
I would say go watch Super Dark Times.
Ooh, interesting reference. All right. Let's move on to that Ezra Miller story. Jeff, let me go ahead and take this one as well. Ezra Miller, we've been updating it here on the show for sure every week when we talk about it here. And apparently now it's come out that Ezra Miller says that they are seeking treatment for, quote, complex mental health issues. The statement reads that they issued to Variety. One of their people issued it, saying, having recently gone through a time of intense crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I'm committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. And just to put this in context, this comes like a day after Warner Brothers came out like crazy defending J.K. Rowling after the Salman Rushdie incident and had not said a word about Ezra Miller. And we hear that they've been doing some early screenings of The Flash. I know a couple of people who I know personally have seen early screenings of that movie, and they love it. So apparently they think this is a really good movie, which is why they've been fighting in this manner. So the apology was not specific to any incidences, was just a pretty much broad apology. So do you believe this apology? Is this part of the Warner Brothers PR machine? What do you think is going on here?
I think obviously it's a PR thing.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
It was ghost written. Come on, like, what? First of all, why does he even owe us an apology? Did he do something to you? Did he do something to me?
Oh, don't start that nonsense.
He did something. What do you mean? He did something to specific people, and those are the people who deserve the apologies.
Fair enough. Even better. Why hasn't? Is there evidence of that?
I mean, we know about them. This is the thing. I don't understand why this apology needs to be this big public act of contrition. How do you? What do you want? Like a receipt after the?
If you live a public life, there are public responsibilities that you have. You're going to act a fool in public and throw chairs at people and choke women out in public and in alleyways. Guess what? You owe the fucking public an apology. That's how it works, Jeff. That's how it's always worked, and it's never changed. And no matter what you do, try to tilt it windmills like Don Quixote, it won't change.
That's what he did. That's all he did is do an apology to appease the public.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we appeased now? Are we okay with him now?
Are
we okay? Are we okay
with him?
Do we see the allegations about Brad Pitt?
Yes, that's if we do you want to bring that up as a connective tissue here, please?
Are we going to boycott Brad Pitt now? Or why are we seeing Bullet Train? I mean, guys, this is throughout the industry.
I think this is a fair point. You bring up the consistency of the outrage, right? Because the Brad Pitt situation, which some of you may not know, in 2016, there was an incident between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. A junior FBI agent was on the plane when this happened, but filed it under anonymous. And Angelina Jolie was told to keep it anonymous. And finally, after all these years of trying to get it unsealed, it was unsealed this week. And there were allegations from Angelina Jolie that Brad Pitt both physically and verbally assaulted her and her child, her oldest child, who tried to break up a physical altercation between Brad Pitt and Jolie. Brad Pitt's people deny it, but this was also when Brad Pitt was still drinking. And apparently after that incident on the flight, he stopped drinking and went stone cold sober. I don't know him every day. I don't know if it's true.
Video again, John? Is it the video evidence that we've seen Ezra Miller throw a punch or choke someone?
Well, we did see the video evidence of him choking the young woman out in the alley. There is video evidence of that.
Okay. Right. So is it that we've seen it and we haven't seen Brad Pitt?
That's probably true.
It is. It's just that I haven't seen that side of him, even though, I've read that side exists. But do I believe everything I read? No. But do I believe everything I see? Yes. It's just, yeah.
Well, it's like Will Smith, right? If he slapped Chris Rock in a bar, nobody would give a shit. Because he slapped him in the Oscars, everybody fucking gives a shit and wants him to do mea culpas until the end of time.
And apparently his Q score has been damaged. Not that, I put a lot of stock in Q scores. No one's ever asked me for my approval of celebrities. Like, who are these people filling out the Q scores? I don't know. It
can't be you and I. We're too close to the subject.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what happens. We'll see if this really is a genuine attempt at, dealing with these issues,
I mean, hopefully they do get help.
Yeah.
That part seemed genuine, that they're going to at least, enter some sort of rehab facility or something. And I think merely putting the statement out means that they are back in touch with their team.
Yeah.
They could have lost contact with that team for a while, which is why things just kept spiraling and getting out of hand. And we didn't hear from them. Now we have. So, hopefully someone is, keeping a watch on them.
Yeah. Yeah. We shall see. All right. What do you want to talk about next? I've asked all the first two subjects here. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, God.
And send in your Streamlabs and Super Chats. People got 104 you. Come on, send in support for the show. Send in some love for the show, for God's sakes. You appreciate Jeff coming and hanging out with us every week. Well, then send in your support, send in your love to both of us for the show.
All right, let's talk about the Jonah Hill thing, because I think that's part of it. So Jonah Hill is not going to be promoting his new movies to protect his own mental health. right? He just says like, he suffers like extreme anxiety, and it always seems to flare up when he's talking to the press and has to, put on a good face because, everybody's going to be reading or watching what he's saying. And, I can understand that. I can respect that. I don't know if that will make Hollywood more or less willing to cast him, knowing that he's not going to be able to do publicity. He's not going to be out there selling a movie. I mean, these days, Jonah kind of does his own thing anyways.
Yeah, kind of watching
and again, people are able to change their minds. He could make a movie in a year and be like, yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. The last year I've had, a lot of therapy, which is what his new documentary is about. It's about his relationship with his therapist, Stutz. So it's just like, I don't think any of this is definite or definitive. But it's also like, geez, what's the worst part of being a celebrity is probably having to deal with the press.
Yeah.
Now he's just like, well, okay, now I've come out and said it, and I don't have to deal with you guys anymore. Good for him.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about this because is this a new way forward for actors to not promote their stuff, to be like, you know what, I've got mental health issues around it or anxiety around it. I don't want to be part of the press tour.
John, the places that make the stuff don't even promote it. Think of that.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
The streamers just put this shit up there. They don't even promote it.
Yeah.
So why should he?
What did you? There was like some show that recently. Did you tweet this? I saw someone tweet this out. Like there was a third season of a show to pop up on Netflix, and there was literally no promotion for that show. Yet it's one of their highest viewed shows, which makes no sense why it wasn't promoted.
When you think about it, why do you promote something, right?
Because you want people to see it.
Right. You want people to see it. Yeah. Why do you want people to see it typically if you're an actor?
Because you to win awards or to make money.
To make money.
Get to the next project.
It's not about awards. It's about money. Okay. You want people to come see it to make money.
Fair enough.
Where is Jonah Hill's next movie?
Well, it's a documentary.
No.
What do you mean?
His next movie as an actor.
Oh, I don't know. What is his next movie?
Netflix, right?
Huh?
It's a Netflix.
Oh, Netflix, right?
Called You People with Eddie Murphy.
Oh, nice.
Okay, and what does Netflix do? They pay the talent up front.
Right.
Give a shit if anybody sees it or not. He's already paid.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Yeah,
it's
a new business model for sure.
Yep.
But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I always listen. I always have. How can I say this? I always have a little bit of concern or trepidation when celebrities come out and try to make a big deal about their journey on mental health and their journey with stuff. It's not saying that they can't. It's not saying they don't go through shit. Absolutely. But how relatable is that to the common person? Like when I saw Oprah do that special with Prince Harry and all those other people, everyone's like, how am I connecting to your life in any way, shape, or form?
Jonah did acknowledge that in his statement.
Yes, he does. He says that in his
statements like this.
He says, I usually cringe at letters or statements like this, but I understand that I am of the privileged few who can afford to take time off. I won't lose my job while working on my anxiety. So he absolutely understands that. You're right. And he says, I'm hoping to make it normal for people to talk and act on this stuff so they can take steps towards feeling better so that the people in their lives might understand their issues more clearly. I mean, that's one of the reasons I talk about my near suicide in 2016 openly, because I know that it's been a positive response. People have felt a kinship or a connection in that. So I appreciate that Jonah is doing that and that he's self-aware enough to realize the position he's coming from. That's important because nobody on that Oprah show realized the position they were coming from. And it was a little rough to watch, to be honest with you. So I want to see real people,
I don't know if you ever conquer anxiety either, but like the fact that he says he's working on it, maybe one day he will get to a place where he feels he has it under control and he'll go out and promote movies again,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you never know, because there are people who deal, as you said, there are people who deal with it all of their lives. It pops up, they go through their steps and their tools, and we'll see. Jeff, you ever have anxiety before the Schmodown? Would you ever say that you did?
Yeah, of course.
There you go.
Anxiety.
That's right. Even the great ones.
It's a Xanax prescription. Come on. Live in Los Angeles. I'm a writer.
Adam Jimenez says, I believe Ezra Miller does want to mend themselves, but in regards to the movie, it's a year away. So I'm with Jeff. Regular people don't even know or care. The movie will come out and make money and go. End of story. Keep it real, guys. Thank you, Adam. Jeff, you agree? Do you agree with that stuff?
Yes, very much so.
There you go. Ronaldo giving us some super chat support.
The biggest tweets. Think of like well-performing tweets. Maybe you tweet something about Ezra Miller. Maybe he gets 1,000 likes. Maybe he gets 10,000 likes. Maybe 100,000 people, are really invested in what the hell is going on right now, right?
Yeah.
But like that equates to what, $1 million in tickets? Like, telling you, it's
maybe. Eric Kirby's saying, come on, Rocha. He was a heavyset man, famous or not, that can F with you. Sure it can. But there are also plenty of people who are quite comfortable in their heavier bodies and have no problem with it. I don't know if you've studied this, but more and more people are starting to embrace the body positivity movement, not in an effort to lose weight, but in an effort to stay their weight and embrace their size. So some people do come out feeling very comfortable at their size. I'm not saying for everybody that's the case. Certainly Ezra has yo-yoed in weight. So clearly there are some weight situations there for him. So I wasn't trying to denigrate that. But when you're famous, I don't know how, and he doesn't come from an unwealthy family. He comes from an already well-established family. If you guys don't know this, Beanie Feldstein's his sister. So they're from a family that has been quite successful before they became actors. So it's a different situation, and that's what I'm trying to get across. I would like shows about real people about people who are not famous, not celebrities, going through mental health stuff, going through therapy, going through all that stuff. That I think would have more weight for the regular person who is watching those shows. That's just me.
I mean, you're probably right, but it's just that the average person is not going to feel invested in that. They're going to be like, who is this person? Why do I care?
I disagree with you because A&E 15, 20 seasons ran that show about people getting off drugs. Or hoarders. Nobody knows who the fuck those hoarders are, yet people make a living off those shows.
I mean, there was a revival of In Treatment, but I've still never watched an episode of that.
Because those are actors. Ronaldo McCuskey says, I do think Mr. Hill speaking about not promoting his doc is a great way to promote his upcoming documentary. I mean, you're not wrong. Technically, you're not wrong. So it's an interesting approach for sure. Right. I'd hate to be that cynical, but it's an interesting. Jeff, what do you think?
I mean, anytime you run the deadline with something, I feel cynical, but no, I don't think we're going to keep hearing Jonah Hill doing press about not doing press.
Right, exactly. All right, let's move on to something else, Jeff. What is this idea? You know what? We're near the middle of the show, so let's do this here. We lost two wonderful people. Wonderful, talented people here. Wonderfully talented people recently here. Wolfgang Petersen passing away at the age of 81 years old. Hadn't done a film in America since 2006's Poseidon. Did one German film, I think it was, in 2016 with Til Schweiger. And before that, of course, some really memorable films in multiple genres, from Das Boot to Neverending Story to Enemy Mine to In the Line of Fire to what I'm listening. Air Force One.
Dude, let's just sum up his life.
Sure, go ahead.
One sentence, guys.
Go ahead.
Wolfgang Petersen fucked.
I'm sorry, he what?
He fucked.
Okay, fair enough. He fucked. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Like, this dude knew how to make a fucking movie.
He did. Yeah.
From 93 to 97, In the Line of Fire, Outbreak, and Air Force One. Yeah. That is a hell of a trope. That's just like solid movie after solid movie.
Yeah.
Right? The Perfect Storm, I'm a little bit more mixed on.
I love that film.
But I think most people like The Perfect Storm, I would say.
Yeah.
Most people like Troy, right?
Well, I mean, it was $500 million worldwide, so you could make the case that most people liked it.
That and Perfect Storm, I would put under mixed positive, and Poseidon was, a bit of a disappointment. But and even before that, obviously, he gets Das Boot, Never-Ending Story. Right. This dude put out 5 bangers, most likely, if not more. So,
not necessarily prolific, but certainly leaving some films that people will rediscover for multiple generations to come, for sure. Down the road. So, but 81 years old, it's a sad to lose him, but 81, it's not a bad life. 81, I would say. I'm good at 81. I'd be good to.
He didn't have a real style necessarily.
Yeah, no, he was able to succeed in multiple genres.
Versatile.
Yeah, versatile.
Yeah, and he was supposed to direct some big movies, right?
He was supposed to do Superman versus Batman: Dawn of Justice. He was in the running, in the conversation to direct that before Zack Snyder.
Wasn't he doing another one too? I just feel like, I wish that we could have gotten one more big Hollywood movie out of him after Poseidon.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Sunk his career.
It's a rare mistake. It wasn't like he made a bunch of bad movies. It was a rare mistake to have that Poseidon be such a bad. Like Shattered is okay, and this film Poseidon was horrible. But I mean, you're standing up against Poseidon Adventure. That is difficult to defeat for sure. And the cast wasn't that strong, to be honest with you. No one's leading Mike Vogel films, for God's sakes. So, okay, but let's move on to Anne Heche, who sadly also passed away after the incident that happened with her driving her car into a house and setting it on fire. They released, I think, the autopsy report saying there was inhalation and stuff of that nature that eventually had her succumb to her injuries and that she passed away. I did say something last week, just in full honesty, talking about it because I assumed that she was getting better and I just wanted her to pay the price for doing the things that she did. In no way did I advocate her dying. So then now that she has passed, it is very unfortunate. I feel sad about it, certainly. And it was tragic to lose a talent who is just about to release a new film that Elizabeth Rome directed, where she's supposedly very good in this film. So certainly someone who is still working and still being a part of Hollywood and still doing films. A lot of people came out with their tributes for Anne Heche. Jeff, how do we assess this? Where do we fall on Anne Heche when we think about her legacy?
I mean, I think if she was like an interesting character actress, that's how I think of her. It's, is there one role that you kind of identify her with? Maybe it's Psycho by the nature of like how high profile that remake was. Maybe it's the 6 Days, 7 Nights because she's paired, with Harrison Ford on the poster. Like to me, I think it's always kind of like just that like supporting role. And I know you did last summer. Yeah. Like she always could play like kind of like redneck backwoods or just like someone with a little bit of character to them. Maybe a little blue collar. Yeah. And which like not a lot of actresses can effectively pull off in Hollywood.
And was able to move between TV and film. She was on Chicago PD for an extended run, on The Brave for a season, Aftermath for a season. Also, let's not forget Donnie Brasco. She's fantastic in Donnie Brasco, right? As Johnny Depp's wife in that film, she goes toe to toe with him, and certainly that moment when he slaps her and she comes back even stronger than before shows you the steel.
Yeah, she had a resilience.
Yeah.
It's obviously tragic what has happened to her in recent years, and ultimately what happened to her in the last couple of weeks.
But she seemed to have been bouncing back a number of projects. She has 2 movies coming out in 2022. Then there's 4, 5, 6, 7 productions that are in post right now that she is a part of, including something called The Idol, which is a TV series. So she's got a number of films still to come.
Yeah, that's going to be a big show.
Yeah, we're not done with Anne Heche in any way, shape, or form for maybe another couple of years when these things start to come out. So
it certainly adds flavor to the stew, as they say.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. Let's keep going here. Ronaldo. Adam Jimenez says, "Hey guys, I saw the Wednesday trailer, and I'm a huge Tim Burton fan, but really think that he excels at outcast stories, and the show seems like it's putting Wednesday in a world of fantasy where she isn't an outcast." Did you see it? Yeah. Did you see the Wednesday trailer, Jeff?
I liked it. A friend of mine was like aghast, and he was just like, we have Wednesday castrating teenage boys. Like that's one way to introduce your family friendly show or whatever. The tone was a bit of a surprise maybe, but I liked it. I dug it. I think Jenna Ortega is really talented.
Oh yeah.
I've always said that. And it's good to see Tim Burton out there doing something that I feel like he's probably been thinking about for a long time.
Yeah, it felt like the best of Tim Burton, like him going back to what he did best back in the 1980s, right? It had kind of a Beetlejuice, what else you want to say, Batman kind of vibe. It had that little bit of darkness with a little bit of humor and smirk to it. The piranhas in the pool, for God's sakes. But it also had a little bit of a connection to when, I think it's the sequel, when they send Christina Ricci's Wednesday Addams to summer camp, and all these more popular girls are trying to get her to fit in. And certainly we see this here at the Nevermore Academy, that these more high-end, richer young girls are trying to get her to fit in. How does that go? We've got Gwendolyn Christie being a part of it, which just seems like the perfect Tim Burton actress for nowadays. So all of it just feels well done. And of course, I'm going to champion such a overtly Latina cast. I am 100% a fan of this. Jenna Ortega definitely feels like she's walking in the shoes of Christina Ricci and the actress who played Wednesday Addams in the original series. Luis Guzman is the more physically and facially accurate actor to play Gomez Addams since the beginning. Go and look at those old drawings of the original Gomez Addams. Guzman looks like that more than Raul Julia or John Astin. So to me, this is a great choice. And then Oscar Isaac is way too debonair to play Gomez Adam. Catherine Zeta-Jones, an honorary Latino for Zorro. She's perfect in this thing. So to me, all around, this looks like a lot of fun. And I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan lately, but this looks like he's going back to what he does best. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
There was another trailer this week that I wanted to talk about, which was the greatest beer run ever trailer.
Yeah.
Listen, I loved Green Book. Where did you stand on Green Book, John?
I hated Green Book, and I always thought you were a clown for liking that film. Go ahead.
Great movie.
No,
deserved its Best Picture win.
You're an insane person. Anyway,
he could do anything he wanted after that, and he wanted to tell this story of Chicky Donahue. It's like a remarkable story. I was telling a friend about, to watch this trailer the other day. It's this guy, like all of his buddies were off fighting in Vietnam. You're a former soldier, John. I'm very curious to get your take on this. But so he felt like he wanted to contribute to the effort somehow. And so he, basically went to Vietnam and smuggled a bunch of beer into the country and tried to deliver it to them on the front lines.
Right.
I think that's a great story. I think there could be a lot of heart here. This is exactly the kind of thing I want to see Zac Efron in. Kind of a bummer for Dylan O'Brien, who lost this role.
Yeah.
It looks like it has the potential to be really good. Russell Crowe, Bill Murray. I'm excited. And then this guy, Jake Picking, who I've been talking about for years from GOAT and Patriots Day. It looks like he has a big role as like Chicky's best friend. So, what'd you think?
I like the trailer. I thought it was when I saw the title initially, I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those dumb Zac Efron vehicles. And then when I watched, I was like, oh, this actually looks pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm curious to see it. I like that it's got this kind of wacky approach, but based on a true story type thing where he is smuggling beer to people in Vietnam who are fighting there for the Americans. So to me, that makes it interesting. Zac Efron is an odd choice considering, I don't want to say losing streak, but I do want to say some of the more disappointing results that he's gotten for some of the films that he's been involved in. I'm thinking Firestarter and the Ted Bundy stuff, which really didn't work for me. I know he's trying to expand as an actor. I loved him in Greatest Showman. I appreciate the fact that he fought hard to get a role like this. I would have liked to see Dylan O'Brien in a role like this because I think Dylan needs as much screen time as possible to get established with more of the movie-going public. That being said, though, Zach looks real comfortable in this movie. So I'm curious to see what more we're going to get from this. And some people are already talking about this film from the early buzz for it, that it could be in contention for some of the people's year's best films, which is really surprising.
Yeah, I think it is a potential Best Picture nominee. The late September release date isn't that encouraging, but at the same time, I kind of like getting out ahead of the pack. It's always been my preferred strategy. So, maybe it pays off. If they do get it, it would be their second nomination. Well, presuming that Top Gun gets a nomination. But Skydance being behind that movie and Top Gun, I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah. What does it have shades of? It reminds me of like War Dogs. It reminds me of this kind of, these kind of films that are a little weird that deal with war. But I like the trailer. I like the way it's constructed. And look, he's a funny guy. He's going to find the humor in a situation like this. No problem at all. But Green Book is like the safest fucking kindergarten film about racism you can find, for God's sakes. To lose to Black Klansman is beyond comical. Beyond comical.
Black Klansman was such a mess. Are you serious, John?
Oh my God. You want to talk about a mess? Let me teach you how to eat fried chicken. I'm a white guy.
Green Book is about racism. It's about friendship.
Yeah, it's about friendship. Ronaldo McWhiskey says the Pabst Blue Ribbon YouTube channel has a great documentary up now, and old photos look just like the trailer. Oh, about this story. Oh, interesting. Okay, I'm going to watch that documentary.
That is true. I actually saw that the Pabst Blue Ribbon thing.
Nice.
Okay.
Makes
sense. Sneider loves Green Book. So on brand for this racist piece of shit. Guys, it won Best Picture. Give it up. So did Crash. Crash won Best Picture too.
I was just going to say, so did Crash.
You have bad taste.
We shall see. All right, we got 137 of you all watching us right now. Thank you very much. Make sure you hit that like button. Send in your questions, thoughts, and comments. If you're watching later, leave a comment down below for sure. And subscribe to the channel, for God's sakes. Don't wait till I tell you at the end of the show to do it. Do it now. Subscribe and hit that bell button. Get me over 25,000 subscribers. All right, where are we off to next here, Jeff? We did the trailers. We did the Amandla Stenberg. We did Wolfgang and Heche. You want to talk a little Robert De Niro? You want to talk about that film?
Okay, so no. Let's talk about that and Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, which one came first? I feel like Wizard of Oz actually came earlier in the week.
Okay, all right.
But then the De Niro thing was announced, and the De Niro thing was positioned as being like the first movie that David Zaslav is putting his chips down on.
Wow.
Right? Because it has a piece of talent attached, and I don't know if there's a start date involved or whatever, whereas Wizard of Oz is more of like a development title. Could happen, could not. So maybe that's why it was positioned as such. But like these are, two interesting moves to look at, the David Zaslav era through. Mm-hmm. He loves like that old Hollywood, gangster movies. I think he loves like De Niro and Pacino. So it wasn't like a big surprise to like see him like, I don't want to work just with one De Niro. I got to work with two, right? Because he's playing two characters.
Yeah, well, two people, real people. He's playing Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, who was always like the forgotten member of Murder Inc., Frank Costello. And Vito Genovese tries and fails to assassinate Costello. So De Niro is playing the two rivals in the film, and this reminds me of Tom Hardy in that Craze film, Legend, and the two Spandau Ballet brothers. I mean, this is a fascinating situation here where you've got one guy playing both roles. This is so odd, but I mean, Barry Levinson and him, essentially the kind of lower Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro connection, because he's worked with him like a number of times, and there've been some good results. Certainly, Wag the Dog was fantastic, and Sleeper, Wizard of Lies. So this is an interesting thing that he's doing, and Nicholas Pileggi is writing the script. So this is good. I feel like this is good, isn't it?
It certainly sounds interesting. I mean, this is this is De Niro's wheelhouse. This is what you want to see him do, really. Yeah. So as long, again, it's all about the tone. Is this going to be a little bit more comedic, a little bit goofier or lighter, or is this going to be like serious and the mean De Niro from those 90s movies?
Is there an audience for a 1957 movie about two gangsters that nobody ever talks about anymore?
That's why it was a very peculiar kind of move. It's like, really, this is the one that you want to get behind? Because like this to me feels like HBO Max. This movie, like something De Niro would have done on HBO. All those De Niro, Pacino HBO movies. So yeah, a bit of a head scratcher, as is, the Wizard of Oz, which I think sparked an interesting column on Below the Line this week from Neil Turret's.
Okay.
Like, are the classics safe anymore, John?
I think they need to be. So that's my mom calling. I think they need to be.
Let's talk to Mama Ro.
I'm not going to talk to Mama Ro. She'll watch this later. She loves you, by the way. The idea. All right, calm down. The idea of I think there are certain classics that you can't touch. Wizard of Oz has been redone and with sequels and whatever. So I'm not surprised that someone wants to take another shot at it. Certainly, Kenya Barris has a good reputation on coming off of Blackish, so why not give it a shot, see what you can create? We're getting 25 Pinocchio movies over the next 12 months, so why not another Wizard of Oz movie? But stuff like Citizen Kane, don't fucking touch it. Stuff like The Godfather, don't fucking touch it. Like, there are just certain ones that I think you can't touch, and other ones that I think you can bring more of a more modern perspective, even though you're telling an older story. I wonder what Kenya Barris's idea for Wizard of Oz would be, but what it would look like,
I mean, I don't know if there'll be some meta element to it, I think, because I don't think it can be like a straight remake. I mean, that's why it was sort of phrased as a reimagining. Right. I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't have guessed that he would have gone this route necessarily, but I'm open to it.
He's a black director. Someone in the chat mentioning The Wiz, which is the black remake of The Wizard of Oz. So what is he remaking or is he reimagining Wizard of Oz? Is it going to be some of the Wiz elements to like what is the approach?
Wiz wasn't mentioned or anything like that. So
no, it wasn't, but I'm just saying I'm throwing it out there. That's
why, because he's a black guy and people who are black made The Wiz. I'm
just saying, yeah, of course. And the idea is like, come on, The Wiz came up with a bunch of new music for that interpretation of Wizard of Oz. So will Kenya Barrett make this a musical, or will it just be?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily even described as a musical. Yeah, maybe it will be. Maybe fucking Jay-Z will end up doing the soundtrack.
Oh my god, like Great Gatsby. I'm down with that. All right, so so we'll see what happens with that. Let me see if we got any Streamlabs super chats.
Wait, there's a way into my story, John.
Go ahead.
So Frank, even though he has not paid for this comment, and I've been admonished by Rocha not to pay for a comment.
Yes.
Frank says, I can't believe E.T. hasn't been remade yet. First of all, E.T. is the rights are owned by Amblin, right? So that's Spielberg. It's not necessarily Universal. So Universal can't really remake it, even if they want to, because Spielberg controls that, which is why you haven't also seen, Universal's remake of Jaws or a new Back to the Future movie, any of that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, shocking admission time for the people watching this podcast.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure earlier this week whether or not I had seen the movie E.T. I was like, I feel like I have, but like, have I really? And so I went this week to the IMAX, 40th anniversary screening, and I'm so glad I did because I realized that I don't think I'd seen E.T.
Yeah.
I'd seen parts of it. So it was really good. I don't think it was like amazing 4 stars, but it was like 3.5 stars. It was very, very good. It did get me in the end. I did cry. The music was just fantastic. You're watching a star literally like explode. You can see the explosion of the star with Drew Barrymore before your eyes. I felt like Henry Thomas was great. Yeah, it was just, and the fact that it felt real, John. That's what really, seeing it on the IMAX and seeing it on the big screen, you could feel that he's there in the room and they're touching him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You just don't fucking get it from a CGI movie these days.
No, you're right. The practical effects are a huge part of why so much nostalgia is attached to those 1980s films for people who saw them in the 1980s and people who discovered them maybe a little bit afterwards. There's a sense of connective tissue, and you're right, touching things you can feel in your hands, like the battle between digital and physical media. It's the same thing. I like to hold it. I like to feel it. I like to know I can touch it. And certainly watching it in the movie, I think that you're right. The people went crazy when you had a CGI Yoda versus the practical effects Yoda. There's a reason J.J. Abrams made sure that Yoda was practical effects in, and Kathleen Kennedy made sure it was practical effects in that sequel trilogy. You gotta be able to touch things, feel that connective tissues to things like that. So no surprise. I'm glad you liked it. As I told Jeff on the phone earlier, the top 10 do not put E.T. in our top 10 of Steven Spielberg movies, which caused issues, but it doesn't mean the film isn't good. The film is good. It's very sweet. It's got a great story, some funny sequences, especially when, he's dancing with the girl in the classroom, the Reese's Pieces stuff. And there's a genuine emotion from Henry Thomas in that movie when he's saying goodbye to E.T. that you would have to be dead inside to not feel that moment and cry.
And I mean, listen, like, it's expensive going to the movies these days, guys. It was like,
it is
$22 or $23 ticket. Knowing me and what I eat, pretzel bites and nachos and all, it's another $22, $23 on top of that. Then you're talking parking. I mean, this is a $50 trip to the movies when I could have stayed home and watched it for $3 at home.
You could have.
It was totally worth it.
Well,
it was totally worth it.
Someone clip this out, make this an endorsement for E.T. and send it to Steven Spielberg, for God's sake.
I'm seeing Jaws next week in IMAX 3D, I think.
As am I. I am seeing Jaws. I will never resist an effort to see Jaws in any format if they're updating it. So I can't wait to see it. And Rogue One is coming soon on IMAX as well, which I will fucking lose my mind to see. Alex Stornay says, what about a Sound of Music remake? Who do you cast? Well, they already used Emily Blunt for Mary Poppins, so that takes her out of the running, unfortunately. Who do you cast in a Sound of Music remake, Jeff?
I don't care. I don't know.
Jesus
Who cares?
I say Gwendolyn Christie if she can sing. Brian Brawler says, well, I'm absolutely sure I've never seen E.T. Crazy, right, Rocha? No, it's not crazy for you, bro, because you don't see any movies. And you can't see movies when you're just working or tied to your mattress. So no surprise, Brian Brawler, that you haven't seen E.T., but you should watch it. And yes, it's crazy, for God's sakes. Double Toasted did a great movie recap of E.T. a couple months back. I hate all the E.T. ripoff films afterwards. Yeah. What was it? Mac and Me, and I forget what the other E.T. ripoff film was around the 80s. See, Snoopy G says, Sneider, which critics lost touch in your tweet? Oh, yeah. Did you tweet about critics losing touch?
Wait, like the critics that I love that I've lost touch with, or critics who have lost touch?
I think they're talking about your tweet. Did you say anything about your tweets?
I tweeted something yesterday asking for critics that people loved who they've lost touch with, not saying that the critics themselves have lost touch.
Right. So he's saying to you, what critics have you loved and lost touch with over the years? And I don't mean communication wise, meaning, Right.
There were two who I'm trying to get in contact with. I haven't heard back yet for potential opportunity. Okay. One is Lisa Schwartzbaum.
Oh, yeah. I used to read her stuff on EW all the time.
And one is Jay Hoberman.
Okay.
From the Village Voice. So those were the examples of the kinds of people where it's like, man, I used to read their stuff all the time, and now I don't even know if they still write. I mean, I know that they lost their gigs, but like, I just don't understand how you go from being like the movie critic for EW for a decade to like not being in the game unless it's your choice, right? But like, you would think that somebody would have snapped Lisa up by now, and so if I can, I'm willing to try.
Yeah. Oh, good. Nice. Good stuff. We got 140 you watching us right now. Make sure you hit a like on this video. Share it on your social media as well. What else do we want to talk about? Oh, Sacheen Littlefeather. Let's talk about this. Sacheen Littlefeather this week, the Academy, after 50 years, finally apologized to her for what happened to her when she came to accept the Oscar for Marlon Brando. She came forward to say that John Wayne had to be held back by 7 security guards from assaulting her. There was also conversations about Clint Eastwood saying something negative about her being there in that situation as well. So what do you think about this, Jeff? 50 years later, they finally apologized to her. Is this a good thing? Why would they do this now 50 years later? Has there been an uproar for this to happen, a groundswell of support for this to happen? Why is this happening now?
It's a good question. I mean, I think that there has been a lot of I'm not sure if like the Academy Museum is built on indigenous land or something, but like, I feel like whether, like a lot of festivals, they do the land acknowledgement now, for indigenous peoples. And I feel like the Academy also has some sort of program with the indigenous, and so maybe they said something. I also think that the Academy is under new leadership.
True.
The kind of classy move that should have happened a long time ago and didn't under Don Hudson, because she had every opportunity to do something very similar to this and didn't. And the other thing is that I believe that the letter, or maybe it was just the Hollywood Reporter article, mentioned that she has metastasized breast cancer, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my. Okay.
So she may not have a lot of time left, which is why the Academy felt compelled to say something now.
Yeah, and it's very terrible what happened afterwards. People accusing her of not being Native American, people accusing her of being Brando's mistress, and Brando making fun of the Academy and what he did. And apparently, according to her, people were doing tomahawk chops as she was being let out of the auditorium by 2 security guards who were there to protect her and keep her safe. So it's unfortunate. And I just finished watching the 2-episode Monte Teo Untold that's on Netflix that I cannot recommend enough to you all. And to see what he endured as a result of being a victim of this situation. People are just really fucking cruel, man. And people just will create whatever fantasy or narrative they need to create to make themselves giggle at night and they don't understand the ramifications of something like this. And certainly 50 years later, if nothing else, it's a gesture that allows this to be spoken about more openly. And as someone who is in love with and going to at some point marry a Native American woman, this carries a little more weight to me than it would have had, I guess, in the past, being more aware of some of the things that and the racism and abuse that is both spoken and unspoken in these situations. So I'm glad that she said that. She made a joke about it when they asked her about how she feels about it coming 50 years later. She said, "We Indians are very patient people. It's only been 50 years." So at least, she's got a little bit of a good perspective on it. Let's move on to these Disney Plus numbers, Jeff, as we wrap up here, because we're almost at the hour mark, and then we'll hit these last couple of Streamlabs afterwards. So we were talking off on the phone here, and you were mentioning that Disney Plus was crowing about their numbers and claiming that they had more subscribers to Disney Plus than Netflix has. But since then, there have been articles that have come out to state that Disney has been triple counting numbers. So can you explain that a little bit to the people who are watching this right now?
I mean, yeah, their 221 is the combined number for Disney Plus, ESPN Plus. I'm not sure if it's Hulu as well. I think it may be Hulu as well. And so all those three services are offered as part of the bundle, right? But if you get the bundle, you're counted as a subscriber for all three.
Right.
Now you 3 times. I mean, it makes no sense. And even, in talking to Netflix, because I put out this big Ankler piece about Netflix and its 2022 and 2023 slate, which I slipped to you on the slide, John.
Yeah. Do you want to, if you want to talk about that, it's connected to this?
Read it. But it meant the very first line. I did a fact check for it. I never really done I've checked my facts before, but I've never done a proper fact check. Normally that would fall to somebody else or whatever. So I did one with Netflix this week, and I was like, I don't even know what we could possibly be fact checking. Everything's we're kosher. And then the first line of it, I was like, oh well, I guess that's not exactly right, because I had called Netflix the biggest streamer. Right. But technically it's Disney now. Yeah. Right. You go off the number. Right. But then I'm like, but Disney's fudging the number. So I'm still going to call you the biggest streamer, even though they have more subs.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because I'm looking at the Screen Rant article about this that was published 4 days ago. And the numbers that have been issued was that Disney had 221 million subscribers, which surpassed Netflix's 220.7 million subscribers. But the important difference here is Disney's subscribers don't all belong to Disney Plus. Their combined total, including Disney's other platforms, Hulu and ESPN Plus, while only Netflix has just the Netflix number. So Netflix is still the biggest streamer, as you were saying here. So you look at this and you wonder what is the need here to fool people and to lie to people using a technicality, right? You're saying, oh, Disney has more subscribers than Netflix. You're not saying Disney Plus, but you know what you're insinuating. So what is the point of doing that? I don't understand why you come out with a little bit of a PR piece like that. Why try to stomp on Netflix in this manner? I don't understand.
I mean, that's what they do. It's, no different than, back in the day when the trades would, announce their traffic. And if you got one more viewer than the other site, you'd been put out a press release. It's just that's the way that the game is played.
It's a dirty game. That's for damn sure. Anything else you want to talk about, Jeff? Do you want to talk about your Netflix article at all, or are you good?
No, but okay. I mean, there were things that I thought were interesting that came out of the Netflix piece, just some clarification on dates and stuff.
Okay.
It doesn't sound like Fincher's The Killer will be this year. A couple other projects. I would just recommend, if you're interested in Netflix, that it was worth a read. Maybe
there you go.
For the Ankler. What was I going to say? There was one other thing. Did you see Beast or no?
I have not seen Beast, so let's talk about that because that's in the thumbnail.
I don't want to talk about it too much because I still need to write my review for Go ahead. Which will publish in the morning. But it was a guilty pleasure, I'd call it.
Okay.
It was a B movie that is very well aware it's a B movie, and I think in that spirit I had fun with it, and I think that the audience I saw with had fun with it.
Okay.
There's a lot of like sort of laughter, but you know, it was also kind of cheesy and stupid at times. So, you know, you'll see it. It'll make for a good Peacock watch in about 3 weeks. I don't know if this is one you have to run to the theaters for, but if you're looking for just like, you know, it's the dog days of summer, guys. There's not much out there. Right. This is a fun beat movie.
Do you think you know, Idris Elba just can't seem to quite get that big film, you know, I mean, where he's the lead, you know what I'm saying? So do you think this is one that it's like, hey, this is a fun little challenge, you know, let me see what I can do, let's see what I can create. Is this very much an Idris Elba vehicle? This is very much his film. It's relying on his charm, his talent, his abilities. We do have Sharlto Copley. We do have the people that play his family, but is this very much Idris Elba versus the Lion through a majority of the movie?
I mean, yes, I think that's fair to position it like that. I don't think this is like, you know, Beasts of No Nation. This is, you know, this isn't going to win Idris Elba any awards or anything like that. I guess it could be a test of his drawing power, but really this is just like, if you like, you know, the animal horror subgenre, if you will, you know, then you could do worse.
Yeah. Idris was not the lead in the Suicide Squad. I hate to break it to you. That was not sold on Idris Elba. That was an ensemble piece. It literally says squad in the title of the film. So it was not an Idris Elba-led film. And he played the villain in Hobbs and Shaw, which, I don't know, it didn't make sense to me career-wise for him to do that, but whatever. He got to hang out with The Rock and Jason Statham. I'm sure he had a blast, so, and got paid well for sure. But I feel like he's...
Did I say Beast of the Southern Wild? I meant to say Beast of No Nation.
You said Beast of No Nation. Someone said Beast of Southern Wild. Yeah, I heard you say Beast of No Nation. But yeah, so I hope one day he gets that thing. And Bond was probably going to be there if certain things had gone a certain way, but there's no way it's there now. Oh yeah, real quick, what do you think about that? They came out, they're looking for the reports came out that they're looking for a Bond in his 30s. Did that surprise you at all?
The reports. What do these people know? These people don't know anything. I mean, come on. What site was it? Do we know?
I can look it up real quick, but I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'll take it back because the UK sites actually have a good beat on Bond.
Okay.
All right. Do I think it's necessarily someone in their 30s? No, not necessarily. I don't think you could rule out an actor who's the right fit who's 27 or 28. I think it's going to be someone who's 26 to 34.
Yeah. That makes sense. You want them around for a few films.
Yeah, they could be in their 30s, but they could be in their late 20s too. What's the fucking difference?
Yeah, this is according to Express UK. That's where it came from.
Bond not going to be. Yeah, Express. You can give me a fucking break, guys. Like this. Are you fucking kidding me?
All right, they want someone who's going to be Bond for the next 3 years. That's what, or next 3 movies. That's what we're saying. Let's hit these Streamlabs before we got to go here, Jeff. Real quick.
The point of that article was and I get why it's newsworthy. It's because people are assuming Tom Hardy or Henry Cavill or whoever. It's not going to be those guys.
Yeah.
They are too old.
A Twin Paradox said, hey guys, love watching you two disagree, but also respect each other's opinions. We need more of that everywhere. Curious, are there topics in entertainment you can't discuss with each other or you refuse to bring up in general because it's too volatile? Not that I can think of.
Hot mic, bro. We talk about everything.
And that's why we created the hot mic so that we could talk about all this shit, because both of us are always bursting at the seams to talk about certain things. But some people we know don't want to do it because they're, nervous about talking about this stuff on camera. And I know with Jeff, I've got a very good partner to go back and forth with about certain things. So no, I don't think there's one thing we wouldn't discuss. We might feel uncomfortable because the story's not fully finished, or we haven't vetted the story, or we haven't figured out if the story is 100% accurate. But topic-wise, no, I don't think anything's off the table for sure. Let's see what else we got. Oh, Fico Cangiano. I hope I'm saying that right. Cangiano. Saludos. Finally sat down on the weekend to watch the Indian film RRR or Triple R on Netflix. And man, it's pretty amazing. Really loved it. Have you guys seen it?
No.
I have not, but I want to see it. And maybe do a review of it or a live watch along of it on Twitch, because everyone's telling me how great this film is. So I may end up watching this thing.
Donate to John and I now. Raise the funds so we can take 3 hours out of our busy lives to watch this movie and then do a review for you guys.
You will not make it through 3 hours of an Indian film. I fucking know.
Someone's paying for a specific review for it, of course.
We'd have to do it on a Sunday where he's not getting texts about stories. But yeah, sure. Let's put a dollar amount and make it happen. I'm down. $500. That works for me. $250 each for 3 hours. I think that's fair. Brian says, unable to watch live, but wanted to show support. I recently saw Universal fly press to Malta for Jurassic World. Paramount took media for flying lessons. I've never understood these gimmicky press events. Do they turn enough clicks to be worth it? No. For my personal opinion, they never do. I was scuttled off a particular sequel to a film. I wasn't allowed to go do the junket. Someone else wanted to go do the junket. They did all their videos, and the videos did a minute fraction of what I did with my interview on the original junket for that franchise. So no, those are all stupid things that are fun to do if you're a critic in that outlet, for sure. But in the end, they don't really do anything but give you a little bit of attention for your film. But most people are like, oh, wow, my favorite critic is riding in a plane, or my favorite critic went to Malta. It's all about trying to curry favor with that outlet, I would imagine. Right, Jeff?
I don't even know what it's about. Yeah. I think it's just about the department having the same amount of money next year to get to do these things. And
fair enough.
I don't know what value they bring to readers.
Look, I'd love to do it. I would love to get in a plane to promote Top Gun Maverick. That'd be awesome. But it's not really going to do much, So I don't know.
Listen, the thing to me is that there needs to have some kind of news value to whatever it is.
Right. Yeah.
And if there's news value, right, then an outlet pays to gather its own news.
That's true.
So if you want to go fly in Malta, be my guest. But I think that the outlet should pick up the tab, not let the studio pick up the tab. Then we'll see how many people are flying to Malta for flying.
Yeah, how many outlets are letting you fly to Malta?
Yeah,
that's an excellent point. And it's tough to fight against people saying, oh, studios are buying positive press when outlets are participating in this kind of stuff.
Right. Don't open yourself to those kinds of accusations by accepting those kinds of free trips.
Exactly.
Not once a year or twice a year, but like once every other week.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Sketchcraft says, really love the back and forth between you and Jeff. Fun and insightful conversation on YouTube. Thanks for all you do. Thank you, Sketchcraft. That's very nice. And one last thing. We had a super chat that came through. Ronaldo McWhiskey saying, you got to love a good measuring contest between companies. It's always the way it goes. Come on. That's Hollywood, for God's sakes. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the High Mic. We appreciate it, Manly. Thanks for keeping the chat lively. We got 150 of you right now. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel down below right now. Get me over 25,000 subscribers, for God's sakes. And Jeff, where can they find you and everything you got going on, and read all the incredible content you generate every week?
BTLnews.com, theankler.com, and LAmag.com.
Fair enough.
Check out my blog, Sneider.blogspot.com, for the annual movie list. You guys can see all the movies that I'm seeing in real time and get all the star ratings for them.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. We got one more super chat that came through that I had forgotten to get up on the screen. I don't know if I can find it real quick. I'll just read it. And it's from, it's from Eric Kirby. He said, guys, thoughts on Deshaun Watson's 11-game suspension? The mofo was upset he got that much. Yeah, what are you thinking about that, Jeff?
Well-deserved, got off light, should be grateful that he's getting a season accrued. In terms of he has to be active for 6 games, I believe.
Yeah, and it's unpaid 11 games, and this motherfucker signed a contract where he's only getting paid $1 million this year, and the rest of his contract kicks in next year. That's guaranteed, fully guaranteed. So he's a clown for doing this. He's a clown for being upset about it. He should have been kicked out of the league, never allowed to play football again. 66 women, the 66 different masseuses. 25 of them filed issues. And yes, they all settled. Settled doesn't mean it didn't happen. Settled means they don't want to relive it again in court. And so they took the money, and they're allowed to do that when you put people in that position. So to me, 11 games is fucking chump change. And when the NFL talks about how much they care about women, but they schedule this 11-game thing so he comes back to face his former team, How can you not be cynical about the 11 games?
I don't think it's about his facing his former team. I think it's about accruing a season officially. He has to be active for 6 games, which is why it could only be 11. So if it just so happens that week 12, maybe they made the schedule with that in mind, but I don't think they looked at the actual schedule and then, made the move. I think it was all in consultation with the Players Association. Anyways, Yash, if you want me to talk about Tom Cruise, you got to pay for something next week, okay? We'll gladly talk about TC.
Yeah, well, he's talking about the Tom Cruise musical. Is that happening? A Tom Cruise musical? Is that really happening?
We talk about it next week when Yash plays up. You got to extort this guy.
Fair enough. All right. Let's get on. There were not 66 settlements. I said there was 66 different women, masseuses that he went to. All right. Let's get on. Oh, yeah. Jeff, did you like She-Hulk? Have you watched She-Hulk? Yes or no? Okay. So
probably won't.
All right. Let's get on out of here. Thank you all so much. As for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. Subscribe to the channel, as I said below. Also, the Hot Mic is its own podcast feed. So, ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to the Hot Mic podcast feed. Wherever you download podcasts, that's where the show goes up first. Then I put it on the Outlaw Nation feed the next day, but it will go up tonight or go up tomorrow morning. That's where it goes first. So please subscribe to it. And Jeff and I are already working on possible extra content that is podcast only, podcast specific. So just letting you know, you want to subscribe to the podcast right now, leave a review, leave a rating. That would be, we would really appreciate it. All right, let's get out of here. You guys are the best. We love you madly. And we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the Hot Mics.